Hello, I see a few people joining. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Hope everybody's been able to be out enjoying this beautiful day before the final day of voting. So I'm going to go ahead and start the PowerPoint. So good news, tomorrow is November 3rd and the voting will be over at 8 p.m. Something I'm sure that we've all been looking forward to. Oops. So welcome again to Lunch with the League. I'm Julie Rodewald, the Voter Services Director for the League of Women Voters of San Luis Obispo County. For those of you not familiar with the League, we are a nonpartisan organization, which means that we do not support or oppose political parties or candidates. And our mission is to protect the right to vote and encourage civic engagement. And our theme this year for this election was register, learn, and vote. And we've been bringing you Lunch with the League for this is our 11th session of the lunches. And hopefully over that time, we've given you interesting information, maybe updated you on information you never knew about elections. And today the theme is to finish the fight. We're going to talk about some up-to-date numbers and last minute tips. And the finish the fight is in reference to women got the right to vote in 1920, but we have to finish the fight by actually showing up and voting. All voters need to show up and vote. All eligible voters should show up and vote on election day or in early voting the days before. So a couple of housekeeping items. Submit your questions in chat or Q&A. Our sessions are being recorded and they are available on our website, YouTube, and Facebook. And just to let you know, like I said, this is our 11th session of Lunch with the League. I'm a little talked out about the election, so this may not run the full 30 minutes. Hopefully you'll have some questions for me as I give you your last minute tips and update your numbers. So our voter service centers opened Saturday morning, October 31st at 9 a.m. They were open 9 to 5, Saturday, Sunday, and again today. So these are some updated numbers. The number of voters that actually showed up at the voter service centers and voted a live ballot, meaning not a provisional ballot or not a vote by mail ballot. We had a little over 850 on Saturday, a little over 500 on Sunday, and today about 11:20, we already had 330 voters. So the number is definitely climbing. We expected Saturday to be a busy day and Sunday to be less busy. So it'll be interesting to see what the numbers reflect after the voter service centers close today at 5. And then the number of voters that were voting a provisional ballot, there were 162 on Saturday and about 90 on Sunday. So that's not a lot of provisionals, which is a really good thing for the time it takes to process those ballots afterwards. And just to remember, just to remind you, a provisional ballot is issued to someone that the poll workers cannot determine their eligibility to vote. So either they have not registered to vote in San Luis Obispo County, which means they can conditionally register to vote and vote a provisional ballot, that they have already returned a vote by mail ballot according to the system, or that they're a first-time federal voter and they cannot show the identification that they're required to show. So these numbers are really good in terms of the number that will have to be processed after the election. So I wanted to give you an update. I saw these figures this morning in terms of voter turnout by age. So far, this was as of yesterday, anything that had been received as of Saturday, actually. So again, as we've talked about in the past, our turnout numbers amongst our younger voters is still lagging behind. 18 to 34-year-olds only have about a 43% turnout, and that's of the registered voters. 35 to 44, it jumps up to almost 52%. 45 to 54, we're now at 58%. 55 to 64 is up to 70%, have already voted their ballots, turned in their ballots. And then those that are 65 and older is up to 83% of those voters have already voted, which is what we sort of expected, because the older voters are using their vote by mail ballots and they're turning those in early. The real question will come from the 18 to 34, even up to 44-year-olds. Are we going to see those numbers increase, either by voting at the voter service centers or getting their ballots turned in, by 8 o'clock on election night? But right now, with these numbers turned in, San Luis Obispo County has a 63% turnout, voter turnout, which is just phenomenal to see before election day. So last call for voting is 8 o'clock p.m. on November 3rd, tomorrow. So if you still have a vote by mail ballot to turn in, and I'm assuming that most of you that are on this webinar have already turned your vote by mail ballot in, but if you know somebody that has not yet turned it in, they can turn it in by taking it to the United States Post Office, but it must be postmarked. So it's really important that a person taking it to the post office actually walk it into the post office and watch them put a postmark on it, because without that postmark, it may not be counted, because it has to be postmarked and received by November 17th, or it can be received through the post office by tomorrow. But if you mail it today, there's no way it's going to get to the elections office by tomorrow. So make sure if you take it to the USPS, you get a postmark on it. You can also take it to the official drop boxes, and those locations and hours are on slowvote.com. Please note that some of the drop boxes close before 8 p.m. Not all drop boxes are open until 8 p.m. So watch very closely for the hours that those drop boxes close. And there will be signs posted at any drop box that's closed before 8 o'clock as to where the nearest voter service center is. So voters can still have the opportunity to take their ballot to a voter service center. And then also, this is a reminder, particularly for people who maybe have kids that are out of the county, maybe away at college, somewhere in the state of California. Their vote by mail ballots can be dropped off at official sites anywhere in California. Now that has to be within the state. If they're out of state, then there's no way that their ballot's going to get returned to us. But if they're in Los Angeles County or Humboldt County, they can take it to an official site in that county and drop it off, and that will be mailed to San Luis Obispo County to be counted. And then our voter service centers, that you can find the locations on slowvote.com, and their hours are 5 o'clock, open until 5 o'clock today, and then tomorrow, what we term election day, from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. And what can you do at a voter service center? There's a drive-by vote by mail ballot drop-off, so you don't even have to get out of your car. You can just drive up to it and hand them your ballot. You can vote a live ballot. You can conditionally register to vote and vote a provisional ballot. And there's also curbside voting is available. That's important. If somebody doesn't want to get out of their car and go into the voter service center, they can request a vote curbside, and the ballot and the roster pages for them to sign will be brought to them. So some helpful tips to vote safely. Remember that the reason that California is conducting our elections this way, with every registered voter getting a vote by mail ballot, is so that we can vote safely during COVID, to protect not only the health of the voters, but also the health of those people that are working at the voter service centers. So we encourage you to avoid busy times And it's been consistent the last 3 days. The busiest time is from 9 until 10, or that first hour that the voter service center is open. So we would expect from 7 to 8, or maybe even up till 9, will be a very busy time at the voter service centers tomorrow. Try and avoid lunchtime, typically 12 to 2 or so. We also are seeing spikes during that time. And then after 5, tomorrow, not today, they'll be closing at 5, but tomorrow they're open until 8 p.m. So we usually see a spike on election day after 5 o'clock. And be prepared. Know where you're going. Know how you are going to vote, not where. Know how you are going to vote. And we encourage you to use votersedge.org has a My Choices option that you can record how you want to vote in each contest and then save that to your phone or print it out to take with you. Wear a mask, maintain physical distancing. I didn't say it on here, but if you're feeling ill, don't go into the voter service center. Go ahead and request curbside voting. And remember too, no electioneering, which means that you can't wear a mask or a hat with the voter's name, I'm sorry, a candidate's name on that t-shirt, mask, hats, whatever, with the candidate's name for a candidate or a proposition in this election. And that's really important. If you're just driving through, they're not going to make you cover a bumper sticker on your car. But if you go to the polling place and you park and you have a bumper sticker on your car, make sure that you're at least 100 feet away from that drive-by drop-off, so that you're not, it's not considered electioneering if you're outside the 100 feet. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but I've updated some numbers for you. So what to expect on election night? Vote by mail ballots that have been returned as of November 1st is a little over 117,000, almost 118,000 ballots. And then the projected number that will be counted on election night and released, your first report, will be about 110,000. We don't know how many will be remaining to be counted, because we won't know until we actually get all the vote by mail ballots in from the voter service centers and from the post office, not only by election day, but in the days following, because those ballots will be valid if they're received by USPS and they have a postmark on or before November 3rd. So that's going to be a moving target for at least a few days, and even up to a couple of weeks, because remember, any ballot that's been postmarked and received by November 17th is valid to be counted, as well as ballots that have been turned in to other counties have to get to us as well. So we'll know in the days following about how many vote by mail ballots there are, about how many provisional ballots there are to be counted, but we won't know much before then. And we'll know what's in hand, but not what's coming to us. And then what to expect on election night. The unofficial election night results, again, the very first report that you see is going to be the vote by mail ballots that were counted prior to election day. So that's about 110,000. I don't have a fully accurate number there, but you'll see that when the first report gets released. And then the returns from the actual live ballots from the voter service centers Saturday through Monday. So what did we have? About 1,300, 1,600 so far, that could get up to 2,000. Those will be counted next, and those will be released. And then it will be the live ballot returns from Tuesday. As those come into the voter service center, those will all be received and actually counted on election night. So that will be the final unofficial election night results. And then what will be left? The vote by mails that were turned in on Tuesday, the eligible vote by mails that were received after the election, any provisional and conditional voter registration ballots, and then any non-processed ballots, which are very few. And then again, where to get results for your local contests, you would go to slowvote.com. That's all your cities, your special districts, your ballot measures that are on the ballots, and your school districts. You can also go there to see how San Luis Obispo County voted for our Assembly and Senate and US House of Representatives. But if you want the full results, you have to go to the Secretary of State, because they compile the results from all the counties that are within those districts, and they'll have the full count for the Senate, House of Representatives, and State Assembly. And then obviously for the statewide propositions, you'd also have to go to the Secretary of State's site. And then again, for the presidential contest, we urge you to use a trusted news source. And remember, there will be many ballots left to count after the election. I think we've all heard about what's happening in other states, and there are many states where they can't even start counting or processing the vote by mail ballots until very close to election day, if not election day. So the results that we see with just this record number of vote by mail ballots being returned, the numbers that we see on election night, those are unofficial, and they won't be official until all of those ballots get counted. And just a reminder, the media calls elections, but elections officials certify the elections. There's a process that elections officials have to go through that ensure that the results are accurate and that every ballot has been counted. Every ballot that's eligible to be counted has been counted. So I'm gonna, before I talk about next week, I don't have any questions in Q&A. So first, before I go into what's happening next week, I just wanted to share with you that I was at a voter service center helping them set up on Friday night. And as I was leaving, I was listening to an interview with an elections official in Washington, D.C. And obviously a much larger population than San Luis Obispo County is dealing with. And back there, we use community centers. Basically here, our vets halls, our community centers, they were using a sports arena. And they were talking about the number of equipment that they were setting up, and the whole process of getting ready for the election day. And it doesn't really matter what scale you do it on. We're all doing the same things throughout the United States as we prepare for whether it's early voting sites or actual polling locations on November 3rd. All elections officials are going through the same thing. And it's always interesting because the weeks and the days heading into actually opening the polling locations or the voter service centers, it's just a frenzy of activity. There's never enough time. There's always so much to do. But once those centers get open, we've turned the election over to our voter service center workers. We've turned it over to the voters, and things typically just progress in a very orderly fashion. And that's certainly what we've been seeing for the last 2 days. And it's what we're hoping to see during our voting hours. This is that treasured activity of American citizens, that it's voting day, everybody behaves themselves, everybody shows up and casts their ballots free from intimidation. And it's really an awe-inspiring thought. Tomorrow morning, when the poll workers and the voters get up, people around the nation are doing the exact same thing. So next week, we'll be talking about what are they doing in there? That's why I always like to say it, because it is open to the public. This year is a little bit more difficult because of COVID, but if anybody wants to observe the process, there is the ability to do that. but we're going to take an in-depth look at the Canvas process, and we'll also have some up-to-date numbers. How many vote by mail ballots are left to count? You know, what are those? What is the rest of the processing look like? And I do have one question in Q&A that I'll bring up right now. Thank you. A big thank you to the League for these informative sessions. I appreciate it. It's been quite a journey for us. Certainly, we've never undertaken anything like this before. And it's been very satisfying that so many of you have joined us. And if you, after we're all done, if you miss seeing me, you can always go back and watch our recorded sessions. You can also send questions to voter service at lwvslo.org. Follow us on Facebook. And remember, for official election information, always visit the county clerk's website at slowvote.com or the Secretary of State's website at sos.ca.gov. And it doesn't look like we have any more questions. Well, I didn't do too badly. I talked for almost 20 minutes. But again, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and go out and enjoy this wonderful day. There's a mention from one of our leagues to the south is on, one of their members is on Santa Maria League. And if anybody that's on this call is not a member of the League of Women Voters, I want to encourage you to think about joining our organization. We do a lot of really good work. There's so many ways to get involved in your community, in voting, in protecting the right to vote, and encouraging civic engagement. And I really encourage you to investigate that. The more members we have, the stronger we are, and the more we can bring to our community. So thank you, Sarah, for that suggestion. I should have been saying that every week, but I appreciate it. So anyway, thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. And if you haven't voted, make sure you get your ballot in, or you go to a voter service center to vote by 8 o'clock tomorrow. And if there's anybody in your life who hasn't voted, make sure you encourage them to do the same. Thank you.